Never enough surfing talk.
Never enough surfing talk. Okay, so also for the record, welcome to our community Treasury governance meeting, um, bi-weekly meeting around the the whatever the community has planned to do with the 50 TI tokens and the upcoming vote burn versus build. And here we are to give a little bit of an update and talk about everything that's related to this governance topic. I have, as always, a little agenda. Not much has changed over the last weeks, but um, as I see, we have some people in the meeting that have not for that I haven't seen often or recently. I will explain again the process of voting, how it works, what we are doing there, what you will have to do as a voter, and actually why and how all this is happening. Um, some short updates around Firefly, um, where we are, what is hopefully happening soon. One topic I would maybe like to talk about after this is maybe you have seen it already. There is a proposal since yesterday in our governance forum on Discourse, governiota.org, about a potential increase of the Shimmer token supply. And this actually would also be an interesting thing for the people that are involved in the community treasury here, because if this proposal would be decided by the community, this would be kind of a blueprint and a test field also for, let's say, the big IOTA DAO and how we can set it up and how it could work. So this might be an interesting part, and I'll try to give you some information from the post that I have extracted, let's say it like this. And in the end, we have, as always, time for everybody to ask questions, um, make suggestions, talk about everything, and really also during my mostly monologue talking, please feel free to stop me and interrupt me if there is something you want to add or you want to know or you don't understand. Just speak up. And me, Greg, anybody that is always involved here will be happy to answer.
I was just going to say that I was glad you brought the thing up from Cappy because,
Yeah, it's a
uh,
really nice topic, and
mhm,
it really also belongs to this whole thing here. So why not talk
yeah,
about it? Yeah, so it's
for sure.
something new and interesting. So I'll go through the basics, why and what this vote is all about, for those of you that haven't maybe even heard about what's going on. Uh, Around a year ago, we had a Chrysalis upgrade for the new network, and the Iota Foundation released a blog post offering an opportunity that a huge amount of uh, unclaimed Iota tokens that have not been owned by anybody since the inception of the protocol will be put up for a vote by the community. And so the community should decide what should happen to these unclaimed tokens. The amount is currently something above 50 TI, which is quite some capital. Let's say it like this. And the two options that the community will have in this vote is either to burn the tokens. Burn would mean that these tokens will be removed from the IOTA ledger. They will be removed from the total supply. Our total supply, 2.771 something para IOTA will then be reduced on around, what's that, 2% or something like this. Um, and those tokens will never be able to access or used by anyone, so they will be really gone. The other option would be build, which would mean that the community will take over ownership over these tokens, um, and use them for whatever the community thinks is a good use case and a good thing to do with those tokens. This can be anything related to ecosystem development, incentivizing teams to build on IOTA, pay for marketing, whatever the community thinks is a good idea to do with these tokens, the community can do. Um, and for this, let's say taking ownership and control as a community, um, there needs to be some tech implemented to make it possible. And so the tech for this would be smart contracts, because there will not, or there should not be a single person or a single wallet or a single seat controlling these tokens then by whoever. It needs to be controlled by the community, by a system that is most likely going to be a DAO, system of smart contracts that will react on votes and decisions made by the whole IOTA community. So for this first decision that we are awaiting all the time, in some teams, and really especially the Soon Labs team, I have to mention here because they have been core driver and developer of the tech around this, together with the Firefly team, have developed the voting mechanism. The voting mechanism was thought of and designed by the people that attended those meetings over the last yeah, nearly 11 months now. And we had a huge group of participants and community members participating in all these discussions and in the design of the voting system that we are using now. And so we will use a voting mechanism based on the amount of tokens you own. And the voting will happen in your Firefly wallet. Yeah, so on. This is actually the thing where what we are waiting now in a moment. We are waiting for Firefly to be ready and to release this voting feature into the Firefly software. Once this is released, we will announce the official start of the vote, and then you will be able to do voting very similar to what you are doing now with staking. Yeah? Because actually what we figured out is that the voting mechanism we kind of envisioned was actually also perfectly fitting for staking, and so technically voting and staking are nearly the same things. Yeah? So you are always sending a transaction with Firefly to yourself, same as you do with staking. And while you send this transaction, you are attaching a piece of information, your opinion in the vote. So either if you want to vote for option burn or option build, you are attaching this information to the address that is used for voting. And so the nodes in the network can recognize that the amount of tokens that you own is voting for the option build or the option burn. And so the nodes can track this and keep track of all votes happened in the network with the respective token amount that is voting for this option. And this is actually how the whole thing will work. What is some important things around this is that we will have different important times in this vote. Yeah? So let's say we will announce the vote. It will happen. We say, okay, we start next week with voting, and the first time zone that is important is a 7 day. We call it. How do we call it? Pre-voting, and this is actually 7 days time while you are free to make your decision. So it's not something that you need to rush yourself into if you haven't looked in detail what the vote is all about. Then you have enough time to read through the information that is published in our GitHub, that is published on a special website that was designed for this, and get informed what you are voting on. And then in the 7 times, you open your Firefly wallet, and you will have a new feature in Firefly after you have updated it to the newest version, where you will have a governance tab, and you actually will just have to do 3 mouse clicks to decide for which option you want to vote. And after these 7 days, where everybody is free to decide which side of the options they choose, we will have a required 10 days period of um, holding, or actually we call it counting, because with the beginning of this 10 days period, the nodes in the network will start to count your tokens and the opinion. And this is similar to what is happening with staking in the moment. I'm sure you all are staking, and you see that every 10 seconds, actually, you are gaining a virtual airdrop of new assembly tokens. Yeah? And the same principle will happen with the vote. As long as you are voting, every 10 seconds, you will receive new votes counted to your address. The reason for this is actually that we want to incentivize people to hold their tokens long term. And we also want to have people not, let's say, buy huge amount of tokens in the open market and then just vote for 5 minutes and then send and sell them back, which would be a way of let's say, unfair influencing the vote by large capital holders. Yeah? But if you are required to hold your tokens 10 days, it's quite a risk if you want to spend a couple of $100,000 to influence this vote, and then in 10 days the price, the market is crazy. So there's a risk involved the longer you are holding this tokens in the vault. So we envision that our long-term holders don't actually care about this 10-day period because you're staking anyway, and you're not selling your tokens, hopefully. So this is something where we want to make make it good for our long-term community members, so their voice will be heard. Yeah? After this 10 days, everything will be will the community node operators, they will evaluate the results. So the good thing is, every Hornet operator that operates a Hornet node in the network, they can do an individual count of the results. You only have to activate the voting in your participation plugin of the Hornet node, and um, then you as a node operator can verify independently, and also independently of the Iota Foundation or anybody else, really for yourself, you can verify that the the result that in the end is published is the correct one, because this result will be the same result that your node is counting and displaying. Yeah? And so we will hopefully have a lot of community node operators participating in the counting, so we can be sure that we will have the correct result in the end published to the broader public. Yeah? Um, what else? Do I have something here? These are the 7 days and the 10 days. Yeah, so something maybe also important is same like staking. So your tokens are not locked. You are always able to remove the tokens from the vote, to change your voting opinion also. And you can add fresh tokens to the wallet, and um, whatever you want. The same functionalities as you have with staking will be applicable for anything related to voting. Another cool thing with this voting mechanism that we have designed is that it's something that is not only for this one vote. So this is something that will be part of the Iota tech stack forever. This will be a continuing feature in Firefly. And so Firefly will be able to do all kind of votes and decision making based on token holdings for the IOTA community. And so we envision that after this first vote, the community, the IOTA Foundation, anyone that has an important topic where we say, okay, we want all IOTA token holders to make a decision on this topic, we can just ask them, and everybody can cast their vote and cast their opinion in Firefly. And so this will be a crucial tool for our upcoming, let's say, participation initiative, where we want our community to take a much more active part in the development of the protocol, in decision making around Shimmer, around assembly, around Iota. And so this is also why we use this. And really also teams that from the community, if you have a topic, you can use this feature in Firefly and ask the community about their opinion. So I think this was, yeah, mainly my thing. Do we have anybody with some questions about this? I hope I explained it quite well, but please just really speak up if you want to know anything in detail. I'm happy to explain it more broadly.
So, if I understand correctly,
Yep.
the voting works just like staking, where the assembly get added to your account. Is there an active counter for the votes during the voting process?
Yeah. Yes. Maybe that's a good idea. I can actually show you how it will look in Firefly. Um, so I think Firefly, the team, has a great design, and so you will have all the information publicly during the votes. You will see actually your own voting counts and also the global count all the time. Yeah, so this is, I mean, DLT, you can't hide anything. So we will always see how the recent result is. And change the let me change my screen share here, and then I'll show you actually how it will look in Firefly. Okay, do you see that my screen has changed?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so these are the mockups, the designs for Firefly. So this is gonna be the new, we call it governance tab. You see here, do you see my mouse actually?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so
We do.
you see here on the side, Firefly will get a new little icon here. This is the governance tab. And in the governance tab, you will see your voting power. The voting power is here, the amount of tokens that you hold in this wallet. Yeah, you know that we have now changed something in Firefly, so you have this wallet selector here in the top, and so you will, as same as staking, you will have to do voting with every single wallet that you own independently. And yeah, so this is your voting power. There's a little link to a website with more information. And here you can view the proposal and start to vote. Yeah, so actually, once you click here, the next one, I'll show you down there. The next one would be here. So here you will have the two options. Yeah? What you will see is that we are currently in the voting open period. These are the 7 days pre-voting. So actually nothing is yet counted and everybody is free to make a vote without it being directly counted. You can choose either of the options, and once you choose this, you actually only have to confirm this, cast your votes. You are confirming this with your stronghold password or with your nano ledger, and then you have voted. And then you see, as long as you are in the voting open period, this is your selected opinion, but still the counting has not yet started, and so you will not see any results. Um, Once we are in the counting period, and
I think that's what happens.
Because it's a broadband issue.
Yeah.
have you lost me again?
You're back just right now, but we lost your visual.
You lost my vision. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think I think that's always what happens, right?
It has to, you know. Oh wait, this was the wrong one.
Okay, it's back now,
Yeah.
actually. So
Just the wrong window.
I'm looking at Firefly updates. Yeah. Okay, now I'm looking at your governance.
Okay, cool.
Treasury. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is actually, once you have voted, you are in the counting period now. This is the 10 days time frame. And so in the counting period, you will see the following. So these are the funds that you have used. And currently you have not yet voted here. So we'll actually have to move. So you confirm everything, and then you are actively voting, and you see your current count of votes, and this number will increase every 10 seconds. And also you will see the current result of the global Iota ledger. So these are all results known to the node that you are connected to. The percentage of people that have voted for one or the other, and also the total amounts of tokens that have been voted. Yeah, so this is what you will see all the time. And also we have a website which will display this matrix without you opening Firefly, so you can actually observe it all day and all night, what is happening in the ledger and what is happening in the counting. Okay. Anybody else? Some question around this? Should I show something more in the Firefly mockups, or
Obviously, I've seen it a few times, so I'm solid. But
yeah, I
yeah,
just
if
will
anybody has any questions, ask up.
ask up. That's why we're here. Okay. So if there is a question coming up to you, really, like I said, just speak up. Happy to show this to you.
I have a question. So, if the vote is gone through and ended, how fast it will take the effect? Also, so when will be this activated?
You mean when will we be able to either um,
Burn or
use?
build, yeah.
Okay, so the thing is, the tokens can only be used once we have IOTA smart contracts on mainnet. So this vote is just, let's say, a starting point for a process that will lead to the release of the funds. The funds will still stay in a locked state until we have a solid working governance system, very likely based on smart contracts, which can guarantee a secure control over these funds. Yeah? So you can't just give the funds to anybody, because I mean, who is the IOTA community? So once we have a decision to build, the building process will start. Yeah? So then anybody really is invited to propose ideas. I mean, there are a lot of ideas already around, and there are also a lot of examples out there in projects that that have treasuries, that hold treasuries with smart contracts, with DAOs. And so we envision the community come together and decide on which way would be the best to govern those tokens. And so there will be further votes. Yeah, so this is also why Firefly has this voting opportunity. So we have some working groups here that are already thinking about all these possible ways to govern the tokens and how the community can decide what should happen with this. And so once this is set up and once this is tested and validated that it works, then the node operators will have to do, let's say it's an upgrade of the node software. And in this step, the tokens will then be released to an address that is controlled by the new designed DAO. And once this has happened, then the community can start proposing what should be done with these tokens, and then the tokens will be spent by the DAO to whatever the community decides. This will be several months of work after the vote until the tokens can be released.
I think it's important for people to realize this. This stuff takes a lot longer than you want it to. So
yeah, we have really seen it. Yes.
Yeah, and that also means that will affect the Cappy conversation, right?
Yes.
So when people, however much people like the idea of enlarging the Shimmer fund, Shimmer available funds, and it's going to have to go through this process. And it isn't right. It's long and tedious and arduous. So people need to, who haven't been involved with this, may not realize that. So just because as it's designed now, just because of that process is if the vote is yes on Cappy's proposal, the dissemination of those funds and how that happens could be a year out or less. But I mean,
You mean
I don't know that
the
people really.
you mean the Iota
I
token? You mean the Iota DAO or the Shimmer DAO thing?
The Shimmer DAO. I mean, it's going to go through the same experience, right?
I mean, I don't know. Let's talk a bit about this. I brought it here up. I don't know if everybody have seen it, but Kapi, actually, I think Kapi, you're even in the call. Welcome, welcome, and you're always happy and invited to say something. So Kapi has proposed something in our governance forum, which is proposed 20% um, add on to the Shimmer Genesis supply, and to distribute 10% of these, so half of this to the EDF, and another half of that to a community treasury DAO. So the community would have 10% of the Shimmer token supply um, to decide on what to do with it and to spend it on development incentives for teams to move over. And that's a great proposal. It's a great write-up, and you also give great arguments why this would be a very, very interesting tool to um, push Shimmer forward. And yeah, so don't know, Kapi, do you want to say something about it? Do you have time to tell a bit about?
Yeah, sure. And apologies, I didn't realize that I was unmuted before.
Cool.
Hi, everybody. I just thought it's necessary for the long term benefit for the Shimmer chain, because we're looking to use it as a staging network, but it's also a community chain. So I felt like, as a member of the community, it would be a good opportunity for us to examine the tokenomics that were proposed by the foundation. When was it? Back end of last year, and see if they're still fit for purpose. I think if we're just looking to use this as like a stopgap for assembly, and it's literally just going to be used as like a test net, then perhaps we don't need to focus on long-term sustainability of the chain and have a treasury pool. But I've got much bigger visions for Shimmer. Like my vision of Shimmer is something that can stand on its own 2 feet and can attract the best developers and teams across the globe to come onto Shimmer and develop. And as much as we might hate to believe this, unfortunately, that the game has probably changed from when Ethereum launched their smart contracts, and we to attract the very best teams that don't already have like a strong interest in Iota, it does require a bit of say greasing of the machinery as such, and provide some form of incentives. Now, the incentives that I had in mind were less to do with like grants to developers, basically just giving them money for them to freely do as they wish. My vision would be more around providing perhaps like liquidity for projects or investments in projects that we're looking to come across to Iota to assist those teams and giving them some seed capital to start up. And therefore, like the ecosystem fund over time potentially could even grow, and could maybe even do like a buyback scheme, or that there's many different options, and there's a lot of unanswered questions in my proposal. What I'd love everybody to do is to read the entire proposal, because the tweet thread that I did was quite extensive, but quite a lot of the information that I was trying to put across is kind of missed, because there's only so much you can put in like
Yeah,
a tweet
Twitter isn't
thread,
the
right?
perfect place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare, but at the same time, it's a great way to kind of capture a lot of the attention. So yeah, I'd love for everybody to give their opinion. Whether they agree with me or not. Let's keep it constructive, and yeah, the more opinions that we can get on that governance forum, I think the better. And yeah, hopefully people have had a chance to look at it. I also appreciate it is a controversial subject. It is inflating the supply of Shimmer, but that inflational supply being 20%, it's not like it's going to get sold off on day one. It's not like it's being given away in day one. It would be given away over time. And my vision, like I said, would be, rather than giving away like grants, there may be certain scenarios where the community might be happy giving away grants, but I'd be trying to push towards more about providing liquidity for projects, or providing a seed capital which gets a return on the investment over time, because I think that's one area that other chains have failed to kind of recognize. They've been giving developers a blank check with no stipulations, and it's come to bite them in the butt a little bit. I think we can learn from other people's mistakes in trying to develop a ecosystem fund and the guidance that we need to make that a success. And I think a lot of that comes from us in the community, kind of shaping that future. And I really see Shimmer probably more of the community chain in comparison to Assembly, because we as a community own 100% of that as it currently stands. But I'd be interested to get more of the foundation's thoughts on the initial tokenomics and whether, like in hindsight, whether they still think it's still fit for purpose. I personally think we need the war chest and some kind of ecosystem fund to help bring more adoption and essentially more value over time to the chain, which would make up for the 20% that we're giving away now.
Yep. From my side, I very much agree with you, and especially, I mean, this is the purpose of Shimmer. This is might seem as a controversial topic and it's something new, but actually this is why we have Shimmer. Mine, we can't do it on mainnet. We can't inflate the supply or do something like this, but this is what Shimmer is actually made for. Try out things and see what works, and also maybe see what not. If we figure out that this was a bad idea, it's actually not really bad, because I mean Shimmer, so also anything can be changed, yeah. And from my perspective, it would be a great tool for our community to test out functionalities of the main Treasury DAO that we are talking here about, yeah. So we don't have a price, we don't know. It's 20% of a supply of a token that has, I don't know which value, but we are also talking about 50 TI Iota tokens that will hopefully be soon back in the reach of a lot of millions of dollars. And so being able to test out different treasury systems, DAO functionalities on Shimmer without risking the main Iota treasury DAO is, for me, a great idea, and a great thing also for really to get into working, because we will have all the functionalities that we need actually for the Iota tokens much earlier on Shimmer. We're gonna have EVM compatible smart contracts, so we actually can start, move, copy, clone an existing governance model from a project that we see works pretty well. We can adjust it a little bit on the way and can start to figure out how we would handle such an amount of token as a community, how we would propose ideas, how we would vote on distribution of these funds, and get actually a feeling for governance, because we have actually none of us has really ideas of handling such an amount of tokens as a community. We have the EDF, and that's handled by the Iota Foundation, and they are pros in their field, and they do really well. But we also see that they are very, very limited and slow in giving out those tokens, because
It's very inefficient.
Yeah, it's not really
as far
efficient. Yeah, and it's really
it's not
bound
timely.
by the German regulations. And this 10% supply in the hand of the community, of course, this would still need a proper legal setup, but there are very good legal setups out there.
Sure.
Especially because this is actually something that is not, from my opinion, as a DAO, not a very complex or risky legal setup. As long as this 10% are not used to do high risk investments with the need of return, because this is not what it proposedly
But that's
should
this,
be.
and yeah. Well, in this case, we, I think, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but we would want a rate of return, right? The idea is that, as I understand it, that we're trying to solve for issues that are created in other chains, solve our problem, right, where we don't have money for the community to actually do this, or bring in outside people, or and just proper funding, right, in a timely manner, but also have the system that proposed to replenish the treasury, right? To, as we give things out, we're giving out to people that will return some of that money as they succeed, right? And hopefully over time possibly grow the fund so we have more money coming in than going out, or at least keeping it even, right?
Yeah.
So
correct, and it's just finding the correct sort of legal structure
yeah,
for the DAO
yeah,
that would allow for that,
exactly.
which is
Yeah, yeah,
complicated. I mean, I've been looking at a few jurisdictions like the Marshall Islands seem to be quite
yeah, and I
friendly
can
when it
talk
comes
to you offline
DAOs.
what we've been doing. We've been examining this for, well, with Philo too, right, for months. So and I've quite a lot of legal fees, so
Yeah.
I'll talk to you offline. But I think I have some good
I'm sure.
ideas on that.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
what I meant.
let's talk offline.
Yeah, it's not something that is directly a risky, because I mean this 10% will not be put into a DeFi app. Let's say it's not so the DAO is not gonna build an own application to make mainly profits. So as
Well,
long as
I think that's to be determined, right? I
yeah,
think
that
how do we know? I mean,
yeah,
right. So
yeah,
I don't know what Cappy's vision is, right? But I mean, I think we have to define what type of investments would be allowed. Are we even going to put arms around? What are we doing with regards to that?
Yeah.
I think that's all to be determined.
you know, and that's the cool thing that we can, if this proposal would be accepted, we can actually immediately start to talk and think about those things. And actually, whatever we figure out, we can test on Shimmer. We can see how it works, and then we can say for Iota, oh guys, we stepped a little bit off the grid here. The Iota Treasury, we do it different. Or yeah, that worked great. Let's do the same thing we did on Shimmer in Iota. Maybe change this and that. So that's for me a great way of preparing our community for what we will be able to do with the big Iota Treasury DAO. That's
You know,
cool.
I was just I think there are two problems with the proposal. I generally, I think I like the proposal. I see, I understand the purpose of it, and I don't disagree with it. Frankly, I wish it would have been considered and been part of the initial proposal. I mean, before we started the staking issue, because what we have now, we're confronted with the issue. It's like, oh man, that would have been. We should have had this wrapped into the first thing in the beginning, right? Now, what we're doing is we have people that all entered into financial arrangements staked, and now we have an expectation and kind of a lot of discussion about how you're changing the terms of the deal, and so that's unfortunate. So I see that that's something that going to take a lot of optics management to get that move that forward. And so maybe ways that we can address this would be for those people that are already involved and have staked and already have their allotment. Maybe we could come up with a way for those people that are already invested. As we take a snapshot of all those people, let's say, and then something of like when the money goes out and the repayment goes back into the treasury, maybe that those people can actually receive staking in those other companies, or some methodology so that those people can be made whole for the amount of
value
that they lost in dilution in this, right? So something like that. I don't know. I don't know if it's manageable, if it's even doable, but it might be worth discussing. So
from my perspective, it's a really tricky subject, and this is why I said it is a controversial proposal. I completely agree. I think it's for the better good for the community. And
I'm not saying that. I wouldn't find it. I would like to figure out how we could do it. I just don't. It's just a matter of there's a lot to chew on here. So
when we talk about like diluting the token supply, completely agree. It dilutes the token supply, and it's a bit like diluting the size of the cake. Like the way that I would describe it is like, how big do you want the cake to be? Like if you want like 100% of a smaller cake, then that's cool. But do you want a much larger cake and get 80% of that cake and have like more in the long run? And that's the best kind of like analogy I could give as to, I believe that we can build a much bigger cake if we have this 20% that we can use to grow the cake over time. But I completely agree. It would have been probably, in hindsight, good to have this agreed for the tokenomics for Shimmer. I don't blame the foundation for this. I mean, they were working on assembly and Shimmer at the same time, and there's a lot of different moving parts to consider. I think in hindsight, I think it was a mistake, but I think it's one that we as a community can come together and agree on. It has to be absolutely a community vote, and I think there has to be a majority agreement that we move forward if we want to go with this proposal. Or, like I said, like I'm completely open to discussing that proposal with something that might be more reasonable across the entire community. It might be, we bring that percentage down from 20%. It could be that we define exactly how those how the 20% is going to be used. What's clear from my perspective, and I've been speaking to so many developers, particularly since I've gone full time into this space over the last couple of weeks, and the very brightest developers, particularly in like the unique use cases like GameFi and NFTs, they kind of expect that they're going to be supported to bring their use cases onto these chains, because they bring so much volume and so many eyes to the chains that they launch on, that they can actually almost name their price as to what kind of incentives that they're looking for. And if we want to build up those unique use cases that are going to bring a lot of eyes onto Iota and Shimmer and ultimately Assembly, I think we are going to have to start playing some of the same games as some of the bigger chains that have hundreds of millions of dollars in Treasury funds to play with. And yeah, I think we should be more clever about it, and we should be more wise, and we should learn from other people's mistakes. But they're my initial thoughts, and I'd love for the community to kind of come together and kind of build out that idea, or put together some really good counter arguments as to why we don't want to go down this route. Like I said, at the end of the day, if we're just looking for a chain that's going to get us from A to B, so it's going to get us from Shimmer to Assembly, and we don't want to worry about, Shimmer once Assembly launches, then we probably don't need this ecosystem fund. But then there's not going to be a lot of value in Shimmer in the first place, and there's not going to be any long-term value. I think that we can build out two different chains, and we as a community can start innovating with the ecosystem fund, and really testing out Shimmer to its fullest capacity, and seeing what we can make of the chain over the long term.
Yep. Yeah, and I think
just the process needs to be transparent, right? Definitely, and the method and madness on how you disseminate those funds, and the deals need to be, this is the blockchain era. It needs to be able to be fully audited, right? That's needs
absolutely.
To be, yeah.
And from my perspective, personally, I wouldn't want to be on that Treasury committee board, because I'll have a conflict of interest. I'm a developer, and so it could be in the future that I'll be looking to source potentially some ecosystem funding to support a product or a launch that I'm looking to bring out onto the ecosystem. I think what we want is for people that are very familiar with DeFi, but maybe don't have the same kind of like conflicts of interest, or if there are conflicts of interest, that it's very clearly defined and they're not voting on the wrong projects. And like you said, it has to be transparent and use all the benefits of blockchains and DAGs to track those transactions as well, and make that as clear as possible for the community to see.
Yep. And this is, I mean, this is why we have our governance board. I really hope that everybody starts commenting, bring counter arguments, bring counter proposals on this. This is something that's going to be an extensive discussion over the next couple of weeks, probably month, until we have something that we can say, okay, let's put this up to a vote. Cool, we have Firefly available and able to do such a second vote then. I mean, this would be the only reasonable thing to do, and then move on from this. Yeah, but definitely we need a lot of input from the community on this topic, and see if we can find consensus in most of the topics, and come to some agreements and decisions on how this could work, if it even should happen, and yeah, put it up for a vote, and see if the community is happy to go new routes on Iota and Shimmer with something like this.
Yeah.
So I have but also a question. So first off, I haven't read Kapi's proposal well enough to to have an informed opinion on it. I do agree that the ecosystem needs some stimulation in some way, but how do you envision if there is such an idea yet. How do you envision to filter out the people that really want to develop and need those funds from the people that just want a quick cash grab? Like, that's something to think about. And then the question is, it retains to the Shimmer DAO. Like, what is the interaction between the Iota Treasury DAO and the Shimmer DAO? Will these be set up simultaneously, or first the Shimmer one and then the Iota mainnet one? Like, what is the vision for that?
I think I can have a start with the first question. So it has been an issue across other chains where what I like to describe as like cowboy developers or cowboy capital comes onto a chain to try and absorb as much of the ecosystem funds and incentives as possible, and then basically get on their horse and leave as soon as possible. We need to make sure that there's like good guidelines as to how we issue out those ecosystem funds to make sure that we get the most amount of benefit for the ecosystem. And this is where I was initially talking about trying to move away from the idea of just giving away grants and moving to a system whereby we could perhaps invest seed capital into these projects. So we'll take a proportion of the tokens, for example, or perhaps we provide liquidity for these projects, whereby you could grow the value of that liquidity that we provide with them. At the same time, the DAO could be earning a passive income in DeFi. So I'd like to probably move away from, like, if we did get this approved, try and move away from the idea of giving away grants or having a smaller allocation of a grant and maybe a larger chunk being given for liquidity, because liquidity and seed investment is equally useful for these developers. As for the second question, I'm probably not as qualified to answer, but I suspect that we should be looking at, if this proposal does go through, looking at developing the Shimmer DAO first, because we can learn from mistakes, any mistakes that we make with the Shimmer DAO prior to the Assembly DAO being launched. And that's one of the advantages that I set out in my proposal, is that we can use this almost as a learning experience for when we want to launch the Assembly DAO.
I think that there's an interest here too, though. Like, so what we've been doing in the governance DAO, right, is working on a treasury. We've got the build versus burn vote, right, and then we've been working for months on figuring out how we move forward after that, assuming that it's a positive vote. So, we've been for over a year now, I guess. We've been working on strategies for that. So, the thinking and everything around how we would manage that could also apply here, right? I would think on how funds would be disseminated, how the teams were evaluated, what type of safeguards and policies and procedures are around there. That's all. There's actually a whole body of work that's been working on that could actually go to Shimmer and also to Assembly, and that you can use the parts that you like or don't like, but there's a lot there, I think. Like dissemination of funds, it just comes up to me. It's like, are you look like from a VC standpoint, there's different VC type of arrangements. Like, do you hand them a blank check, or do you basically are saying, hey, we'll do milestone payments, right? Regardless, right? So those kinds of things.
Yeah, agreed. And we should absolutely lean on that work that's been done already. I'd be interested in taking a look at that. And apologies, I'm not aware of that. And I appreciate the work.
Oh, no worries. No, that's why I was kind of wondering if you knew about it. So yeah,
that's cool.
Yep, there's actually a bridge fund group, and it's in the Pioneers channel, and we're working on a lot of this stuff to try to build a framework to make this happen. So to try to, once the vote has gone forward, right, the idea would be to already have kind of like a framework which the DAO would be able to rely on as far as a lot of the groundwork being done. They can be able to adjust it, obviously, right? But so that they aren't just kind of starting from ground zero once a vote has been yes, if it happens, right? So this framework is there, hopefully like divining processes and procedures so that whoever these people are that are going to be making these decisions will have something to lean on and they can adjust it. Because that's the biggest thing I know, and this will also happen with the if the vote was yes for this proposal that you have, Cappy, it's like, okay, now we have it. Then there's the expectation that people will be able to get funds tomorrow. Like, let's do this, right? And that's just I know that's coming, and we've been trying to work on on making sure that there is actually a head start. Because even with a head start in this process, it's still going to be a disappointment for people potentially if we don't manage the discussion and the optics. Because people will just expect that to be able to happen automatically. So,
Yep. Yeah, we put a lot of thoughts in all this, and yeah, I also think it's kind of start with Shimmer if possible, if it's gonna be voted on, and take the best findings over into the Iota big treasury DAO. Maybe do it a bit different because might be Shimmer and Iota different, and then we also gonna have potentially assembly DAO, which will then be more focused on the smart contracts DeFi application thing. And but yeah, we definitely just need really to talk about all these things, and we're gonna use Discord, use the governance forum to bring up all those ideas, and it's up to the community how things should happen. But we, like Kapi already said, we really should look into what happened on other ecosystems, what did work, what didn't. I mean, this is also what we do for DAOs since 12 months. We analyze all the projects out there. We see how people spin up DAOs, how DAOs fail, how governance fails, how voting gets manipulated, and all the things. It's all out there in the open. That's the cool thing in Web3. There's not much hidden stuff happening. If you take your time to research things and issues properly, you actually will figure out a lot of things that are working very well, and sadly more things that are not working very well. But if a lot of enough people come together to think about those things, and we have a great community of great people involved in all this process, I really think we can build amazingly good governance models. We will have issues, we will have failures, funds will be misused. This all will happen. That's human stuff. That's normal. But in the end, there will very likely be a much more positive outcome, even if on the way some mistakes happen. That's life, and this is why Shimmer is our testnet also for Iota. So yeah, see really what's gonna happen there. It's gonna be really really interesting.
Yeah. So just a couple of thoughts on that. I know we're wrapping up here, but I think it's again, Cappy, I think it's thank you for putting that out there, and I think it's pretty cool. But I think I know that you want to have the dialogue. I know, and having a big dialogue on Twitter, it's really good to bring awareness and start the dialogue. But at the same time, I think you need we need to figure out. Or I think it would be beneficial. Let me put it that way to maybe have a dedicated channel or something to have these discussions, so that at least they're kind of in one place, not just in the Twitter sphere, because governance by Twitter is a nightmare. So maybe I don't know what you think, Philo or Cappy and the rest of y'all.
I mean,
would a channel to discuss this be viable? Would it?
Why not use the governance forum? I mean, Kapi posted it there, and everybody that has an account on Iota Discord, because we know how Discord is. If you open a channel, we see it all. It's always the same. You open a channel, and then people start chatting instead of putting up proposals there. So we'll see. We of course can also put a governance a channel here for this, but I think the main fruitful discussion and the things that really move this topic forward are normally better put in the forum style, like in govern.iota.org, because it's a place where you can really put up more specific discussions. But let's also put a channel here and see how people pick it up. But then the thing is always, then you kind of split discussions here and there.
I know.
So in my opinion, I would say let's try out the governance forum, how it is accepted by our community. It also did work very well in Dom's proposal, kind of. Yeah. So maybe we get some good input there. But
Well, how about
well,
this? I mean, I don't disagree with that. That's why I kind of wanted to just
Yeah.
discuss this. Is there anything in our governance channel that we're talking on? Well, right here. Is there anything that says, hey, if you want to talk about these proposals that are all kind of more focused and around certain
Yeah.
subjects, is there anything that actually has a link from Discord to those other things, or from this channel to the other ones?
I wanted to set it up actually. There is a Antonio, you're here, yeah. So there's a bot that actually will automatically post new topics or comments on topics from discourse from the forum into the Discord. So let's do this. I'll set up a channel for this proposal, and so people can discuss in the channel here on Discord. And as soon as there is added something new in the discourse, the bot will automatically forward this to the people that are more on Discord. I don't know. I think it doesn't work the other way, or it also shouldn't work the other way, because this will flood discourse with a lot of chat things.
Yeah.
But definitely put up notifications and the info
And
that
also
happens.
just like if you just came into this world, right,
Yeah.
and you thought that everything governance was handled in the Discord governance channel,
Yeah.
I don't know that there's anything that would tell you to go to discourse.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. Yeah, I'll put this. I put a channel up. I put it also in the pinned messages here. Maybe I can also put up a regular bot message, kind of every once a day.
Something.
Yeah. So we also working at the moment on a blog post that will introduce the governance forum to our broader community, because we just recently spin it up, and it is not yet well known to most of our community, and so we're gonna do some promotion from the Iota accounts also to bring this more into the view of the whole Iota community.
I think a lot of the issue there is the discourse and Discord are so close in name.
Yeah,
that's actually quite problematic.
Yeah,
because when people hear discourse, they just think Discord.
No, always refer to govern.iota.org, the forum. Yeah, so we have the Discord and then we have the forum. I think that might work. Yeah. Cool. What else? Short info to Firefly. Maybe those of you that are following the Firefly dev channels, we are still not in the testing of the voting mechanism. There is a nasty little issue in Firefly and Wallet RS. Greg, we talked about it in the last meeting here. So there's some syncing issues that the team wants to resolve before they put the voting functionality up into Firefly. And
it needs to be resolved.
Yeah, it needs to be resolved. I have also quite some issues with purchasing NFTs and restaking. Makes me So we found a bug. I had over the weekend a Firefly version with logging enabled, and so Toralf and the guys they are on it, and they're working on a fix to make syncing and staking and voting much more flawless. And once this is done, then we will move it into the tester group. It's not much to test. It's really very, very laid out already, and it's really just staking with a different front end actually. So I don't expect us to need weeks of testing there. And then we're gonna release it up into the wild, and we're gonna do the vote. That's the plan.
Cool.
So anybody else has some topics or some questions to copy or to anything we've been talking about in the last hour? This is your chance. Speak up.
Come
I just wanted
on.
to say thank you to everyone that's given feedback already, whether it's positive or constructive. It's still really useful, and it's absolutely necessary for what we're proposing. Like I said, I appreciate it's a controversial issue. Like if you want to discuss any of the issues in more detail or just want to DM me, feel free to.
Great. I really appreciate, Kapi, that you came here also to talk about, and you put your name up and proposed this, because it's a task, and it's a cool thing, and it's like you said, it's controversial. There will be people that don't like it, others like it, but that's the way we're gonna do it. Yeah. So we are actually able to discuss it and to come to our own decision as a community. And yeah, if we would put this up for a vote, we're gonna see the outcome in the end, and whatever it is, it's a decision taken by the community and not just put on it by whoever. So that's great. It's a great contribution and a great input. And actually, this is also the way that we envision to develop Iota, Shimmer, and Assembly in the future. Yeah? Have an active community, give you the possibility to take part and influence the protocol much more than it was possible, let's say, in the last 2-3 years. Yeah, be more open in Iota, in Shimmer, and Assembly to contributions and input from our community, because I'm actually, you guys know it better in the end. So if there are no other questions, I'll wrap it up for today.
Yep.
Great again to have you all here. Great that Kapi could give us some inputs and insights in his ideas. And we're gonna see you again in 2 weeks, Thursday, 3 p.m. Berlin time again, here in the channel. And as I said, I have recorded all this. I'll upload it tomorrow morning. I post it here in the channel and also on Twitter. It's on our YouTube playlist. And so anybody who has missed it can just rewatch it. Very, very interesting insights. Great talking to all of you. And thanks again, and see you in 2
All right. Thanks, Philo. Thanks, Cappy.
Bye,
Thanks a lot.
everybody.
Adios.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.